This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Domain.com. Today on Film Riot, we drone it, boo. Phantom drone it. I regret that. Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes mystery out of the effects and techniques, going to some of your favorite Hollywood films. Your host, Ryan Conley, and last week we showed you the Inspire 1, which I freaking love that thing, and if you want to know more about that, check out last week's episode right here. And the only downside for the Inspire is the price tag. For the dual remote kit, you're looking at around $3,400 and around $2,900 for the single remote kit. And that's a pretty heavy price tag for a lot of low-budget filmmakers, but that is where the Phantom 3 comes in, which is the little brother to the Inspire 1 and costs $1,200 or below $1,000 depending on which version you get. So let's jump right in and take a look at this lovely little fella. Like I said, there are two versions to the Phantom 3 that you can get. The Professional, which is the one I have and will be showing you today, and the Advanced. The only big difference between these two is the camera and the charger. The charger on the Professional will get the batteries charged much faster, and the camera on the Professional can shoot 4K, whereas the Advanced is at 2.7K, which is actually a brand new development. DJI just released firmware that boosted the 1920 by 1080 image of the Advanced to 2704 by 1520. Not too shabby. But those are really the only big differences at all. So for the rest of the time, I'm just gonna be talking about the Professional since they are both so similar. First thing you'll notice is that the Phantom 3 is much smaller than the Inspire 1, and setting it up is a whole lot easier. Take it out, and the cam is ready to set up. Throw the propellers on, just like we did with the Inspire last week, and we're ready to sync it up. So turn on the remote, then the Phantom, make sure the light goes green, then set up your phone app and calibrate your compass just like we did last week with the Inspire. That's it, you're ready to fly. Flying is the same with the Inspire 2, has GPS lock to hold itself in place and controls the same way. Main difference is that the landing gear is fixed, so it doesn't move up and out of the way of the camera, so you don't have that full 360 degrees that you do with the Inspire's camera. One other thing I noticed is that it's a lot easier to get the propellers in your shot with the Phantom, so you have to be conscious of that as well. But the Phantom 3 is quieter than the Inspire and less intimidating to fly, and since it's smaller, it's a whole lot easier to fly indoors. Especially since I can throw on prop guards like this to make it much safer to do. You can find prop guards for the Inspire, but it's a lot harder to find. You also have the visioning position system on the bottom of the Phantom 3. This will track the ground to help you keep your drone in place even when it doesn't have GPS, also very helpful indoors. On the remote, you have some useful buttons like this back left trigger here, which I have set up to point the camera straight down once the button is pressed. I like getting top-down shots, so this makes it much easier to do. Just push it and it switches shooting modes very quickly. On the top, you have the shuttle wheel on the right that will shift your shutter speed, and this button here for snapping a picture, and this one for reviewing it. On the left, we have another shuttle wheel. This one will tilt the camera. Then we have GPS lock and attitude mode selection switch and record button, so it's easy to get what you need done without taking your hands off the remote. Of course, before I start filming, I want to set up my camera to get the best image possible, which we're going to set it up just like we did with the Inspire last week, just with one extra step that I forgot to talk about. Inside of your camera settings, go into Style and select Custom. In here, you can adjust the level of sharpness, contrast, and saturation. For me, I'm setting sharpness, contrast, and saturation all down to -2. At 0, the Phantom is adding a bit of correction and sharpening to the image, so I'm wanting to take that away so I have more options in post. Especially for sharpening. The Inspire and Phantom both are way too sharp at 0 for me. I want to be able to select that level in post, so I'm going to -2. You can go to -3 on all of them, but I found that's pushing it a bit too much, especially with the sharpening. You're losing detail. It starts smudging lines together once you take it that low. So I'm testing between -1 and -2 to see which I like most. Right now I'm landing on -2. Seems to change depending on what you're shooting, so do some tests of your own and see which one you like better. And just like we did with the Inspire, we took the Phantom out to Turner Falls to get some test shots, but before we get to that, let's pay some bills. We've been talking about .club, which is universal and understood globally and perfect for businesses, groups, or a film page of any kind. But if you missed last week's episode, you missed that we are doing a digital scavenger hunt with .club and Domain.com, the winner of which is going to get a 128 gig iPad and a GoPro Hero 4. If you want to get in on that action for a chance to get the goods, go to this page right here, FilmRiotHunt.club, to get the rules, instructions, and your first clue to get you started. I'm going to be giving another clue in next week's episode, but that clue is not going to make any sense unless you finish the first half of the scavenger hunt. So get started now by going right here. And of course, grab yourself a .club. They're only $9.99 a year. And if you do, use the coupon code FilmRiot to get 25% off. And when you think domain names, think Domain.com.
Logo.
I'm back.
Oh, hey, Ryan.
Want to look at some footage?
Yeah, sure.
Let's look at some footage. So just like the Inspire, the Phantom 3 is capable of getting some epic footage, and the camera isn't quite as good as the Inspire's camera, but it still holds its own really well. One thing that I noticed I'm getting a bit more with the Phantom camera than I am with my Inspire is moire and aliasing. It can get heavier depending on what you're filming, so as long as you're conscious of that, you can manage it pretty well. And of course, just like the Inspire, getting solid footage is a lot about nailing the exposure, which something I didn't talk about last week is exposure warning, which will give you a visual aid to show you what areas are overexposed. Then you have the histogram as well, which will give you a graphical readout of the exposure in the scene. So these two are really helpful in getting that exposure dialed in. And of course, you can get ND filters like this one to help bring down your exposure and control your shutter on sunny days. This one does not come with the Phantom, but we put a link to where you can get them in the notes below. Also, as we were filming this, DJI released a firmware update that does some epic stuff. First, like I said before, the Advance has been boosted to 2.7K, but now all the drones are capable of flying themselves. First, you have point of interest. This one will have your drone revolving around a subject, flying itself, so you can just worry about the camera. Then there is Waypoints. This allows you to record a flight path and then have your drone repeat that over and over while you operate the camera. So again, it's flying itself, so you can just be the camera operator. And then finally, there's Follow Me. And while the other two are both for the Inspire and the Phantom, this one is just for the Phantom drones only. This one will have your drone lock onto you and follow you, keeping you locked in the camera's view. And there are a few other updates as well, but those are the ones that got me most excited. Of course, you can find out more about that and the Phantom cams in general in the links we put in the notes section below.
Logo.
And that's it. As always, everything here is my true opinion. DJI did supply the drones for us to review, but have no say in the episode at all. If you have any questions on any of that or just want to say what up, feel free to hit me up on the Twitters, and I'll see you guys next time when I travel for days to find her, just for her to shoot me in the chest.